Sorry, my lens was getting a little dirty. What is going on, guys? So today we're back with another deep dive, and actually it's the first deep dive in the Fusion Cup that we're going to be taking a look at. And what better way to kick off the Fusion Cup than talking about one of my favorite bug Pokemon in existence? No, not that one, Heracross. You perverts. Heracross is actually a fighting and bug type Pokemon, maxing out at 3,101 CP. But with a 0-1 attack, 15 defense, and 15 stamina, at level 18 you can actually hit 1498, which does actually yield you the maximum amount of stat product inside of the Great League. Now if we actually take Heracross and put it up against the entire Fusion Cup, that's going to take some getting used to. 101st in bulk and 85th in stat product, that's actually pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. But we do know that basically that comes from his base stats, which is a 234 in attack, which is why his bulk is so low, a 179 in defense, and a 190 in stamina, which kinda, you know, makes him all punch and no guard. But of course we do know that's also only half of the picture, because our moves definitely make up what the other half doesn't. So let's actually take a look here. We do have Counter and Struggle Bug in terms of our fast moves. Counter for 3.5 energy, we get 4 damage. After stab, it does get bumped up to 4.8. Struggle Bug for 2.66 energy. For 3 damage, it does get bumped up to 3.6. So straight away you can already see Counter just puts up better numbers in both categories. Literally no excuse not to run Counter here. Then in terms of our charge moves, we do have Mega Horn, Close Combat, and Earthquake here. Some pretty powerful moves, although it makes the Heracross notoriously slow because they're all pretty hefty moves, but nah. Close Combat actually got reworked a little bit, so let's talk about that here in a second. Mega Horn for 55 energy, we get 90 damage at a 1.64. After stab, it does get bumped up to 108 for a 1.96, which is actually really good. Close Combat now only costs 45 for 100 damage at a 2.22. Now let me just go ahead and put this out there. That is insane. That's crazy good. That's almost like Community Day move good. So what's the drawback? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's actually a debuff. There's no nerf. There's a self-inflicting nerf. Heracross basically punches himself in the nuts for this, because he does lose 2 stages on his defense, and it's a 100% chance that it's going to happen every time you use Close Combat. So you got to kind of play around with that, and like basically we said, his bulk isn't the most amazing thing to begin with, so it literally would be like shooting yourself in the foot here. Also remember that when you switch out a Pokemon now and switch it back in, you basically reset your stages and it works out pretty good for you. So after stab, it actually does get bumped up to an even better damage for a 120 on the damage, which makes it a 2.67 on the damage per energy ratio, which is quite insane. Last but not least, Earthquake for 65 energy, we get 120 damage at a 1.85. No stat benefit there. And honestly, like looking through simulations and like trying to decipher this moveset, Close Combat literally gets used almost every single time. There are a couple of select times that you would want to go with Mega Horn, or that you would want to go with Earthquake. Honestly, either one would be fine for you. For the purpose of this video, I personally chose Mega Horn because bug type, but other than that, it literally could go either way for you. So our final moveset, of course, is going to be Counter, Mega Horn, and Close Combat, because Close Combat is now insane. So let's actually take a look at some stats up against the entire cup here in some shilling scenarios. Specifically 0 versus 0, we do start out with a 63.9, which is quite spicy. 2 versus 0 is an 88.2, which is pretty much where we would expect it to be. The 0 versus 2 though, this number is impressive, a 20.8. You guys aren't clapping? I don't hear you clap. And then lastly, in the 2v2, we do have a 45.8, which is kind of bad. Basically, it's because, you know, we basically don't have any bulk even though we're using shields, we don't have the bulk to withstand the fast moves generally, so yeah, we're gonna die. Either way, looking into the meta though, in the 0 versus 0, we do have a 54.8%, which is actually pretty much in line. 1 versus 0, 74.2, kind of low, to be honest, if I'm actually being honest. 0 versus 1 though, a 19.4. So here again, we're putting up very impressive numbers when the shields are up against us. And then in the 1 versus 1, we actually have a 54.8, which is right in line where we would expect it. So all in all, looking pretty good. In that meta situation though, up in the 1v1s, let's actually tear that 54.8% down into our wins versus losses. So in terms of our wins, we do have Probopass, Quagsire, Magneton, Alolan Sandslash, Shiftry, Piloswine, Poliwrath, Blaziken, Whiscash, Alolan Muck, Lantern, Marshtomp, Celio, Ludicolo, Swampert, Gloom, and Victory Bell. For whatever reason, as good as Heracross is, he's not considered part of the meta scene yet. So we do have a tie, and it is Toxicroak, and that's okay with me. But guys, can we start a hashtag, please? Hashtag Heracross for meta, please. Can we just do that? In terms of our flat out losses though, we do have Altaria, not surprising, Haunter, not surprising, Venusaur, Bronzong, Alolan Marowak, Noctowl, Frostlass, Golbat, Charizard, Alolan Ninetales, Wigglytuff, Claydol, and Togekiss. And honestly, out of those losses, there are a ton of pretty okay losses with me. I mean, they make complete sense. It's not like I'm like, why the hell did we lose to that? It actually makes a lot of sense. So let's actually tear these up into some categories. There is one category that I'm gonna make a stretch to go through here. But let's start with fairies. Togekiss, Wigglytuff, and Alolan Ninetales all give us a ton of problems. Of course, fairy type gonna be resistant to the fighting type damage while also dealing super effective damage to the fighting type. It is a big problem for us. One of the best things that I think to go up against those this month would be the poison types. Things like Venusaur, Haunter, Golbat all do really well. For what it's worth, if you could squeeze some steel moves in there, you'll just be good up against the fairies. The next problem that we do have is the psychic types. So Claydol and Bronzong specifically are the big ones here, and the best things to go up against those are the spooky duo. You've never heard of the spooky duo? That would be things like Shiftry and Alolan Marowak, specifically because Shiftry has access to dark moves and Alolan Marowak has access to ghost type moves, so they're the spooky duo right now. Next, we do have the flying types like Charizard, Golbat, and Altaria, all giving us a ton of trouble. You know, bug type weak to flying, fighting type weak to flying. Kind of makes us a pretty big target there. So the stretch that I'm going with here is that I'm calling this the anti-flying category. We're going with Lantern, Probopass, and Whiscash. They kind of all serve specific purposes for the 3 Pokemon that we have here. Lantern is going to do really good up against Charizard, Probopass is going to do really good up against Golbat, and Whiscash is going to do really good up against Altaria. In the perfect scenarios, of course, you know, there's all kinds of weird scenarios where they could do really bad in that scenario, but whatever. Generally, my thought process is Lantern, Water, and Electric, good against Fire and Flying for Charizard. Probopass is Rock and Steel, really good up against the whole Poison thing and Flying thing from Golbat. And then we have Whiscash, who is Ground and has access to Blizzard, mainly, which is going to be good up against the whole Altaria super threat that we're all gonna face this month. But that is actually gonna be it for my boy Heracross, guys. I'm super excited that Heracross is actually good this month. I can't believe it. I'm actually like really excited for it. I know you can't tell, but believe me, I'm excited. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to help dictate what the next deep dive is going to be, you can always join the Discord down below, get to voting, throw some votes in the voting channel. Super easy. It's literally !VOTE for vote, and then type out whatever Pokemon you want. Ninetales. Ninetales Alola. Don't do Heracross because we've already done that one. But yeah, you get the picture. Either way, thank you again so much. I really do appreciate you guys being here. Other than that, I'm pretty sure that's it. So I'm going to catch this cat and pretty much punt it across my house because it won't stop as it licks its like back. thank you guys so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you could do that, but if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below about the video. I do highly appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to support me in any way, there are several links down in the description for Patreon, joining the community here on YouTube, or even just directly PayPal if that's your thing. I greatly appreciate everyone's name that's on screen, as you guys have showed some sort of support outside of just viewing the videos, and I thank you guys. You don't understand from the bottom of my heart. So until our next video, guys, I will catch you then.